Have you heard about Len Enders' 80s home movies?
What's some ways that I could get people to sort of like know about it?
Makes sense that they would potentially watch maybe like archived footage.
There's more to Stranger Things than meets the eye.
But definitely random noises that weren't just like electronical interference.
I literally wandered into him at the QFC buying some sushi the other day. Allie, you've been doing some spray painting.
That one didn't turn out so good.
We had some extra, what would you call that color?
Teal?
Like a teal.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're not using that cutting board anymore.
That's our toilet paper
Holder.
roll. It's gonna match our spatula holder. So we had a few minutes to spare, but Allie and I are headed out the door right now to talk to someone who I've known for a little bit on YouTube, a local by the name of Len Enders. And he has a channel dedicated to his life living in Port Hadlock, which we're just right outside of. He calls Port Townsend, Port Hadlock, kind of where he grew up. And if you followed our channel, you know that there's some strange stuff going out here, but maybe the strangest stuff is his theory that we're gonna get into hot and heavy today. The inspiration of Stranger Things maybe coming from this zip code out here. Now, he's got theories. We're not going to spoil them. I literally wandered into him at the QFC buying some sushi the other day. And I recognize the dude. I know that we have to film him just based upon the fact that he's a local here. And so maybe the Stranger Things is a bunch of malarkey, but he probably knows something about this town. Right? Like he's a local, so
yeah,
we'll head out to Len's house and get into it. So, cool. This is Len Enders. I've been waiting a long time to meet him. I thought we'd bump into one another eventually just because he's coming back to town periodically, but as I was saying with Allie, I've been following your channel for quite a while, and you're like an homage to an era that's super important to me, the 80s. In the videos here, and Allie, you haven't seen them all yet, but we're gonna go back through all the videos with her and induct her into this world. It's so perfectly done because it's not like you're accessing the 80s, you are the 80s. And I mean, you're talking about things that are so important to a child that grew up in the 80s, like video games, video stores, freaking records, hunting down cassettes, hunting down B-sides, house parties, frat parties, and you're there with like a VHS on your shoulder.
Oh yeah, full.
Documenting this in high school. And you're like, you're super stylish even back then, dude. Like you're like immersed into, you're coming into your own like as a rocker. Are you a rocker?
Oh yeah, I was fully like all the glam rock, all the metal, all of that stuff. Like, I was all about it. Yeah.
Tell me about like the response on YouTube, because you have quite a following. You have close to 80,000 subs, and there's quite a bit of back and forth in the comment section. Tell me about like what's going on with the feedback on your channel.
Well, first, when I first started doing it, it was just, I was doing a music project, because I played in bands and stuff too. So I was doing a music project at first that I was like, what's some ways that I could get people to sort of like know about it a little bit? And then I had this idea of like, well, what if I put up my old 80s videos here and there, and then have links to all the music stuff in the description.
Okay.
So people could be watching the videos and then get down, oh, what? He's got tunes too, you know, whatever. But like nobody gave one shit about that. But then I started getting followers like on, and I had like a YouTube channel for my like music thing and stuff too. And so it was just like nothing was happening there, and I just kept getting followers and comments on my 80s videos and then after a while, it was just like, this is way more fun than trying to do, like, I was already getting to a point where I was kind of hating making music. So then when this started happening with the 80s videos, I just was like, leaned into it. It was just like, this is way more. And then that's actually, I had never really done much like video editing. And once I like got a little bit decent software and started like getting into it, I was just like, I'm in love with this, like fully in love with it.
This is like your house on wheels. The nomad experience has obviously taken off in the last 15 years. And you're a part of that lifestyle. So you're not just based in Hadlock anymore. You're still documenting like weekly almost, right? Like your experiences on the road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which I need to get faster at uploading those things.
Yeah,
but,
we all do.
but like, I've been like shooting more videos and doing that. Because, I mean, realistically, at some point, I'm going to run out of 80s and 90s videos. There's just, I never owned a camera. So I would just go rent one, like maybe every month or every 2 months.
Oh.
So
they're not even yours.
No.
In the videos.
No.
Okay.
I thought I heard you say that. How much did they cost?
It was like $10 or $15 for an entire weekend. So I'd pick it up on Friday after school and have it until, sometimes I could even drop it off before school on Monday. But so I would do work for my dad and then rent the camera. And initially it was going to be like, oh, we're making horror movies.
Right.
And I'd have all my friends over and I'd get, and I'd be directing everything and doing everything. And then everyone would just get mad at me because it would just be like I'm being a tyrant and like, no, I need a better performance out of you, whatever. And then pretty soon everyone is like, screw you, dude. Like this, I'm not spending my weekend like this. And everyone would ditch. So then it just started turning into like, okay, now I've got a camera for 2 more days. And then I just started documenting stuff around me, which then evolved into like, oh, there's like a party happening this coming weekend. Let's get the camera and bring Matt. Come on in.
Okay. Will it fit us all?
It will, yes.
Okay.
It's tight, but I've had like, I've had like 11, I think the tops I had was 12 people in here just partying.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Oh, nice work, dude. And I knew it would be a total homage to the 80s and a little bit of the 70s and B thrillers.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say it was not in this kind of shape when you bought it.
It was nowhere near this kind of shape. No. It had been sitting out in the bushes with literally vines and stuff growing over it for like 5 years.
It almost sounds like you rescued this dolphin from the upside down.
Kind of. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be a way to put it. Yeah,
So
for sure.
That might be a good segue here for the next thing that we want to talk to Len about.
Yeah.
And since Allie is like the dedicated, like she's waiting for the new season to come out. I'm certainly a big fan of it because they got so much right. But you feel as though there's more to Stranger Things than meets the eye, that perhaps Port Hadlock and your story might be involved.
Well, so I'm sort of like, like in the video that I did, I was more like speculating that it could be, because so many people over the years were just like, I would just get never-ending comments. And so then I was sort of like, okay, I don't know if I really think that that's true.
Right.
But let's explore how that could have happened, because I had been like licensing footage for years and stuff like that. And know a couple people who are in like movie industry stuff and know enough to be like, it's just like any other industry where everybody is intertwined. And then if like hey, I'm looking for some inspiration on this thing. You guys got any footage like this? Oh, we got this from this one guy. Check this out. These videos have been getting passed around since the 80s. Like I was doing VHS trades. So it's not like it was just, and I had, YouTube channels in the past. So it wasn't like it was just this one channel and my one upload of each thing that ever got it around it at all.
Now we'll head out to a possible connection here, because in Port Townsend, also your hometown, are the bunkers, right? Like, is it Fort Worden?
Fort Worden, yes.
Fort Worden.
Yeah.
So what do you say we head out to Fort Worden and talk about some of these bullet points that go over the list of things that you have in common in your videos with the Duffer Brothers creation, right?
Yeah.
And then I have some questions about the mystery of Port Townsend in general, because there's a lot of rumors about this place.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, totally.
you probably need the guy to ask. You know?
Maybe.
Okay, let's see what we can get into. So we're up here at a point of the story here where we're going to get into like the particulars of what's going on with Stranger Things, and it's exciting for the fact that this place feels like where Levin came from as far as Hawkins and what's happening there. What was the name of the facility that she was taken to?
It wasn't just like Hawkins.
Allie, what was the name of the facility Levin was taken to? So this place has the feel of the Hawkins National Laboratory, but it's obviously an old, what is it, World War II bunker called Fort Worden?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Fort Worden.
But it does have like underground, legit network bunkers where kids used to go and do crazy stuff, including you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we're going to go through some of the bullet points of what you were saying as far as like it being connected to Hadlock, maybe I think like 5 really strong cases, but having done a couple of things now in the industry, the way it works is that these guys, they all know one another. They're all hanging out at the same kind of like social networking areas. And it's not even like, it's like how you would interact if you saw someone you knew, just like, have you heard about Len Enders' 80's home movies? And we're doing this 80's, you know, spin-off here. So that's a total possibility, right? Like that makes the most sense.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, like I still get emails quite regularly from production companies that are looking for clips for their documentaries, and they'll be like, oh, hey, so-and-so, you know, gave me your information, said that you're the guy with the 80's footage, you know. Or
how often is that happening?
Probably every month. Okay. And then before I was ever putting on YouTube, I've got a couple of YouTube channels, but before I was ever doing that, I was doing VHS trades was a whole thing in the 80's where you would like, you know, just trade compilations of tapes of like, it would usually be people doing like wacky stuff, like going out and like trying to do pranks or, you know, sort of like skateboardy type things or, you know, just like funny stuff, and then trade these tapes with other people where you're like actually mailing them to someone, you know. And then in the late or the early 2000s, after I got a DVD burner, then it would be like on DVD, you know, trading stuff around like that. And then it was, you know, early trying to get into like, oh, my friend works at this such and such production company, needs like some kind of clips for their upcoming thing, but back in those days, I didn't know anything about like licensing stuff, so it would just be, oh yeah, tell them they can have it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So things like that would, until later, more in the last like 10 years, where I was like, oh, wait a minute, now I'm seeing my clips on Netflix, or I'm seeing them on A&E or HBO.
Oh, have you seen your stuff on A&E?
Oh yeah, fully.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Netflix, HBO, A&E. Yeah, like so many documentaries. I don't even know what I'm licensing them to anymore, because I'm just like, we just agree on a price and an amount of, you know, clips. And then I can't even remember, you know, like, oh, okay, another thing about the Sunset Strip in the 80's, or a thing about the band Poison.
All right, so the point is, though, that this stuff was circulating in Hollywood, and it was circulating in the 2000s. 18, 17, Stranger Things came out, maybe earlier, right? 15? And,
something like that.
But your stuff had been on the web. Like YouTube was already a known quantity by then. And so they were accessing.
And like not my current channel right now. Because if you go, people will comment and be like, hey dude, the video that has such and such in it, was posted on this date, but Stranger Things episode whatever came out this many years before. But, you know, I explain in my video, well, I did have other channels where I was like doing things. And then there was like MySpace and all, like uploading and all that crap too.
Freaking MySpace.
Yeah.
Okay, Allie, we're going to swap out cameras here. I want you to take this part here because you know more about the details of this world than I do.
Okay.
And so, Lynn, she's got some questions.
Nestled in the historic undertown of Port Townsend, Washington, discover Sacred Portal, your gateway to mystical exploration. Here you'll find curated crystals, unique gifts, metaphysical tools, workshops, and even personal astrology and tarot readings.
Welcoming all, Sacred Portal inspires and elevates your spiritual journey. Step in to explore theme wonders, connect with your higher self, and embrace magic. More than a store, Sacred Portal is a destination for exploration, connection, and inner wisdom.
So last night we watched your Stranger Things episode on your channel, and was pretty surprised by how many, what would you call it, like, you captured a lot of scenarios, like the, where you guys would hang out.
There was like the Rock. Skull Rock, yes, was one of them. So there is a place here, not far away from here, just a few miles away. I just call it Chimicum Rock or Big Rock. It was just always known as Big Rock as a kid for me. But videos of us up there, you know, rocker kids hanging around at the, you know, Stoner Rock or whatever in town. So there were videos of that.
Okay, so another one of the similar scenes is potentially inspired by your footage was the Motley Crue parties, which sounds like those were probably common in the 80s.
Pretty common, yeah. But just interesting that there's a video of, you know, a party at, you know, one of our house parties with Motley Crue playing, just rocking out in the background or whatever, which is much like a scene in Stranger Things. And also, just to clarify, all of these things were pointed out to me. I didn't go like digging to be like, wait, what? That seems, these are all things that people had commented to me or sent me DMs and stuff going, hey, did you ever notice that this is just like this? You know, the series to your videos. So that's what got me even like looking into it or making the video that I made in the first place.
And to be fair, you were kind of skeptical.
Totally.
Just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe, could be, but I don't know. You know, it's not like, you know, so totally for sure to me.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got the Big Rock, we've got the Motley Crue parties, and also just like the bicycle stuff and riding around town.
Oh, yes.
Like other scenery type things. And I think it's fair to say that when people are wanting to put something together in that era and start writing, like they want to try to get it down to the details, so it makes sense that they would potentially watch maybe like archived footage or like from that era and try to get the details down, like even to the smallest ones, like the phone call to the parents or
well, and I've had on multiple occasions people who are in like the movie industry or, you know, production of whatever sort of kind like that, tell me about how that is what they would do, is go looking for source material to get, you know, not just like Googling images of such and such thing or watching some, you know, watching E.T. again to see how like people were behaving or whatever, especially if you want it to be like super realistic, as realistic as close as you can get. So multiple people who are in the entertainment industry on that side of the camera and writing and stuff have hit me up and said, oh, we totally do that. Like look for, we go on YouTube, we look for stuff, you know, like anything that we can reference like that. So it's not that crazy of a stretch, really.
Yeah. The last thing was the characters that potentially have a lot of similarities to friends within your group back then. There was two, right?
Yeah, there was the Billy Hargrove character, which is pretty similar to a friend of mine one of my old friends, whose name is also Billy, and drove a Trans Am like his, or a car like his, and, you know, was a metalhead with a mullet, and, you know, same sort of vibe, totally. Whether or not they, you know, really took anything from that, I don't know, but yeah, similar there. And then another character is the character of Eddie Munson, which is very similar to my friend Han. Like, totally the look, like, which is like your basic rocker look of the time, but also, you know, to be able to see footage of an actual person behaving in a, you know, of that same, supposed to be of the same age group in the same time period, is pretty good to be able to go like, oh, here's a guy that looks exactly like what I was thinking of. Like, let's watch him, you know, for a little bit. And he also had the same guitar. So my friend Han played guitar. And so in my videos, he has the same guitar that Eddie Munson has. And then what else was there?
Even like down to the rings and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yes,
we were
totally.
noticing, we're like, geez, that's very
Quite,
like
quite similar.
parallels there.
I didn't really like all the people who were reaching out to me and always bringing up these similarities. It was when Eddie Munson, that character dropped, that I just got flooded with people being like, this is so the guy on your videos, you know, and so once I watched it, then I was like, whoa, that is like pretty similar.
Yeah.
And then there was a final quote.
Oh yeah, I was just saying like, you know, hey you guys, if you did like get any kind of inspiration, could you drop me something in an episode that only I would know, so that a quote or an image or something in the background that I'd be like, oh, got it, you know.
Yeah.
And then there just so happens to be in that, I think it's in the last series. I can't remember the details of episode and stuff, but where dude says almost exactly a quote from one of my videos. Like, it's just really, really, really close.
This'll do. This'll do just fine.
This'll do. This'll work just fine.
Initially, we only watched like half of the video together. You're like, I want to interview the guy that did the Stranger Things. You're like, okay. So we watched it last night. And I was like totally sold, especially with the last quote. So what do you think?
Well, I hadn't really watched any of your stuff, and I was like, well, I mean, but that stuff's gotta be.
You hadn't been watching any of my stuff? You hadn't been watching?
I'd heard him talk about you. He was watching, and then I was like, well, I was like, can't anybody find like 80s inspiration, or, you know? And so I was like, well, I don't know. And then you're like, no, there's like character stuff and things. And anyways, when I watched it, I was like, we both like opened our mouths and like looked at each other like,
Drop a note in the comments, whatever.
Yeah, let's hear it.
so you said you might have some paranormal or strange stories for us.
Yes. So first of all, when I was a kid, I lived in a place called Coyle. Do you know where that is? It's out like near Quilcene, like kind of way out in the middle of nowhere, like way out in the woods.
Okay.
So my great-grandfather built a house out there and actually built the road to go out there because it's in the middle of nowhere. So for a time when I was like 8 years old, my dad and myself and an aunt and uncle and some other kids, their kids, we all lived in this house out in Coyle, and it was big, like 3 stories. My dad and I lived in the basement, apartment in the basement, and then there were 2 other stories. So the thing that was weird was every day, it took a little while to really like get that this was happening, but if you were sitting in the downstairs, not the basement, but just downstairs, family room area when everyone would be like making dinner and hanging out and whatever, if there was nobody upstairs, you would hear someone walking at almost the exact same time every day. And I distinctly remember that it was 5:30 in the afternoon. So it was straight up like boots walking, where you would hear heel toe, and not only that, but you could hear, but it was a very old house, so it would also creak as there was walking happening. Now it would always be a little bit different, like sometimes it could be like only 3 to 5 steps, or sometimes it would be like, okay, they're going all the way through the room up there. And all of the adults, us kids, everyone could hear it. Like, you would be sitting there and it would be happening. And we would be like, what is going on? But if anybody was upstairs, it wouldn't happen. So the parents, the adults and stuff, were always like, oh, it's rodents, it's mice, it's rats, it's stuff like that. But even as little kids, we were like, this is the sound of actual boots walking, you know?
Yeah.
So eventually it just ended up like, my dad told me that one day he was there by himself and that he was sitting in the living room with we had 2 great big dogs, and he was at the house by himself, and that he heard it walking through the steps, coming and go all the way down the stairs and come down the hall towards him to the point where you would see the actual person, and that the dogs got up and were tripping like, who's walking in here? And then that the footsteps stopped right there, and then that was the last time he had ever heard it, and we had never heard it since then. But what was interesting was the spot upstairs, this one particular room, it would always start at the same spot, which was just the wall. So upstairs there was a wall, and it would be like, well, why there? One day I was outside and was looking up there, just happened to glance up to the 2nd floor and could see a cutout of where a door was, and it was all sealed over. Oh. And so I asked my dad about it, and he was like, oh, well, when I was a little kid, there used to be a porch up there, and that was the entryway that you went up to the upstairs rooms, was you went up and went through a doorway right there. So it was always starting at this what was a doorway at one point, even though at the time it was just a blank wall.
Initially, it sounds like residual energy type haunting stuff, but then it's like there isn't a whole lot of. It changes like how many footsteps it takes, or maybe how far it comes down, or the fact that it doesn't do it when there's people up there.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it sounds like there's a little intelligence there.
So that was when I was like 8 or 9 years old. Then when I was like 11, we moved out to Hadlock. And living out there, I had friends who lived across the street, and their house was, I didn't know this, but like apparently like very haunted. Oh, shit. And there was a barn out front of the house that was pretty dilapidated. Mm-hmm. And the dad, there was like 2 girls and then the parents that lived there. And I was friends with all of them. And the dad was always like, you cannot go in the barn, no one's playing in there, you can't, and we would get in big trouble just because it was so kind of rotted and stuff. But there was a cool upstairs that had a bunch of rooms that I always wanted to go check out. So they were gone on vacation at one point, and I snuck over to their house by myself and went into the barn, and I cruised upstairs, and it was a long hallway with like multiple just like rooms on each side. So I was going down the hallway and went into like one of the rooms. I'm looking around, and then I hear some shuffling going on downstairs, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, so I'm waiting, and then someone starts walking up the stairs, and I'm like, oh no, they came home early. He saw me come in here. I'm about to get so busted. And then the person was walking down the hall to where I am now up against a wall in there with the doorway right here, just being like, okay, like just don't move. Maybe he'll just like doesn't know I'm here. But then I was finally like, he knows I'm here. Like, I have to just step out. I'm just making it worse if he finds me. So I stepped out to because he was right at where the doorway would be, and there was no one there. As soon as I came around the corner, the footsteps stopped, and there was nobody there. And I absolutely lost my shit and took off running out of there, like sprinting. But I'd found out later, I never told those guys about that. But one time I went over to their house one morning to hang out, and I came in and all of their chairs were up on top of their dinner table with like all their dishes up there, and all of their cupboards were open, and they were like putting things away. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, what are you guys doing? And the whole family was just like, oh, we wake up sometimes and it's like this. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And I'd never heard of like poltergeist. And that's the first time I ever heard the word poltergeist. They were like, yeah, poltergeist, something. And I'm less like, I don't get it. And they're basically like, oh, like a ghost does this. And I'm like, what? But was also like wow, that's pretty crazy. And then the people who lived in that house in later years also told me, they were like, funky stuff would go on there.
Wait,
where they
so
were
is
like,
this house still around?
yeah, it's out in Hadlock, yeah.
So there's one more story you said didn't happen around here. Is that in California?
It was in California and San Diego, yeah. So at this one time, when I was still like into like making music and stuff, and it was just like hard rock music stuff, and like I wasn't really good at it, was just like trying to make weird songs and whatever, and like had just a little digital recorder. I didn't have a computer yet at this point, and this would have been like 2002 to 3. So I had this little digital recorder, and I would be recording my like goofy ass songs, and they were very like dense as far as like kind of like a lot of guitars and noise and crap in it. But I started to notice that I would come back later, play back my stuff, and there would be sounds that I didn't put in there. And at first, just because I made so many like weird noises in there, I was like, oh, I must just be tripping. But then it actually started to be sounds like that were almost like someone moving a chair around, or like moving things around in a room. No like speaking or voices or anything like that, but definitely random noises that weren't just like electronical interference. There wasn't just like a weird crackling or something. It was like stuff that was like, and it would be embedded on a track. So if like, let's say I've got 10 tracks of stuff, and I get rid of all of them but one, and on that track there's just like some drums, the noise would be embedded into that track in spots. So there was no way that I recorded them together. You know, it was like that definitely showed up at a different time. So right around that time, I was telling a friend about this, and then my friend was like, well, have you heard about the movie that's coming out called White Noise? And then I was, I didn't know anything about it, so I looked up the trailer and was like, whoa, like I'd never heard of EVP at all. Wait, that's right? Yeah. EVP, yes. Had never heard of that. So then I just sort of was like, I even took the thing in to have it looked at, like went to, a certified, like what's going on here? Is everything cool? Everything checks out, and is like, oh no, all your stuff's working just fine, man. Like, don't know why this would be a thing. Well, then next was I started to have problems with, along this thing that I was making, I was also making like sort of a comic book type thing to go with it. Like, and so I was doing a lot of like Photoshop work, illustrating and then like Photoshop scanning and stuff. And then my files started coming up as, what is that word? Corrupt. I started having lots of corrupt files with the stuff that I was working on. And then there was even a point where I had some things had been moved, and I found them in a really weird location, like up in a top of a cupboard, whereas like I would never put that thing up there. So then there was a dude who like worked this was in an apartment complex, and me and my ex-girlfriend shared this apartment. There was a guy who was our like local, the guy that comes around and does all the, whatever, what's that called?
Maintenance?
Yeah, maintenance guy. He was super weird and trippy, and like people were pretty creeped out by him. So one day he was over like working on some stuff, and I was getting frustrated with some of these things, and I mentioned something about something that was going on, and then he was like, oh, you're talking about the ghost. And like what are you talking about? And he said a name, which was Elizabeth, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I thought about this story. But I did type it all out, and I had it on my old website, which has long gone, but you can still access it via Wayback Machine. Oh, nice. So I'll send you that if you want to like read the actual story. But so then he said that, and I don't know if any of this stuff is true because the dude was trippy, but he said this apartment used to be a tiny, like a small house by itself. And then many years later, they just sort of cleaned up used the bones and then created the rest of the apartment complex around it, but that it was this place and that this woman, Elizabeth, lived there who ended up getting syphilis and dying. And I was like, how do you know this stuff? And he said, because I found her diary. He said he was working on the place years before I had moved there, doing something in a wall where he had to tear some stuff apart, and that he found it stuffed in this, like, up in the wall, and that it like documented that she was like a whore, she was like, whatever, prostitute, yes, and that she had contracted syphilis, lost her mind, and passed away. And he was like, she lived here and this is where she died, and like she definitely like haunts this place. And I was like, well, can I see this diary? Do you have it? And he was like, no, she was a sinner. I had to get rid of it. I burned it. Like, I got rid of it. That's not something you keep around, blah, 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 stuff like that. So I was like, that's convenient that that's gone. But I also was like, this stuff that's happening in my recording is pretty weird. And then my dad, who came to visit one time, I just kind of forgot about that. My dad, who came to visit one time, he's a builder, he saw his like crazy house. He came in and was hanging out, and he was like, this definitely used to be a house at some other point. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And he told me all the reasons. Like, yeah, because they did this, this, and this. So all they did was reconstructed like new stuff around it. So I was like, whoa, that kind of confirms what the dude was saying before, about it being some older house. But anyways, yeah. So then I ended up making CDs of this and like printing up a bunch of stuff. But then I was having all these corrupt files, and then I just had this whole weird, like, this bullshit is cursed, like, moment, and just ditched all of it. And I put it in my friend's garage and just left it.
The other thing I think we were curious about asking you about was, growing up in Hadlock in this area, is if there were like any other strange rumors or, I don't know, stuff that you, like when you're a kid, you hear about like, oh, don't go to that cemetery, or that house is weird.
Definitely what I would hear about consistently up through in the 80s and 90s was being here and satanic rituals happening in these bunkers.
Like here in the bunkers.
Yes, in these bunkers, yes, for sure. For sure. That is definitely a thing that I would hear about all through my childhood.
This is like during the satanic panic.
Oh yeah,
when people are just like.
And so we would come up here and hang out, and you would find pentagrams and stuff, things painted all over the place, and stuff that looked, ritualistic, but I wouldn't have known at the time like really what that looked like. But like, why are there candles here and a big, like weird thing painted, and
So like candles. Did you ever see like blood?
Not blood, no, but like definitely a couple times, and not like in an area that would seem ritualistic like, but like animal carcasses around up here, but like how that got there, who knows.
That's fair. But we've heard about this Fort Worden bunker area having like way more miles of bunker than what we get to publicly access. So, and you said you hung out here a lot as a kid, but like, were you guys able to access a lot of what's kind of shut down? Yeah,
there were definitely spots that we could get into back then in like the 80s that are all cemented up now, where like I was telling you guys earlier, there's a great big, huge gymnasium size room underground that we could access through just a steel ladder.
Oh, that's the entryway? Wait a second, no way. How would they lock it?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, lock.
We need like a little crowbar or something.
I don't see how they would have locked that.
But you can see that like, if you like, it's...
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying if a guy got here and did this, There's a ladder
There's
here?
a ladder, yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, totally. And
That's
so
a
we would
dare right
creep
there.
down in there, and it's this whole massive thing. They do have a photo. No way.
Oh, is that inside of that? So, whoa.
Oh, it has these columns everywhere?
Yeah.
Oh, that looks like it's right out of Stranger Things.
Totally.
Doesn't it?
Spotting enemy ships.
Crazy.
Thank you, Len, for taking your time away and doing this with us.
No problem.
As far
Enjoyed
as like getting a wealth of information, like I'm totally on board with the whole Stranger Things actually partly being borrowed from your videos based upon that quote. Like that's hard for me to ignore.
Inspiration for sure.
But how cool is it to actually meet a new neighbor? Like we don't know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we're kind of down with the same stuff a little bit. In fact,
Totally.
we talked about maybe a collab, doing some Bigfooting. So
Yeah.
with some plaster on his hand, who knows?
Yeah.
Casting some tracks.
yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts, Allie?
No, I mean, it's cool to just meet a fellow YouTuber, too.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
Nice. All right, man. And where can people find you? What's the name of the channel?
Just Len Enders.
Okay.
LenEnders. And just
what-
at Len Enders.
Thanks, Len, for meeting with us.
Thank you.
Showing us a part of the fort we'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Of course.